Welcome back to All the Mods 10 Lite. I'm Bumstar, and today we're finally tackling some flight. We'll look at all the options we have and figure out what actually makes sense in a more resource limited pack. And then we'll use that mobility to set up our first mob spawner with Apothic Spawners. Let's get into it. So when it comes to flight in this mod pack, we have kind of three main options. And the first one would be a potion filter, where we make the potion of flying and we put it in our potion filter and then throw it in an infusion pylon and we're good to go. We have creative flight. The big issue that we run into is going to be brewing the potions. We need chorus fruit to be able to do this, and we haven't gone to the end yet. So we really have no way to get this. And I think ultimately this definitely is the best option. It's just not an option that we can feasibly do right now. Another option we have is the jetpack from Mechanism. The downfall to this is that it uses hydrogen, which we already have producing right here, and we have a full tank of it just from our electrolytic separator that we're using the oxygen for to triple our ore. And the benefit of this is you can make a armored jetpack, where you do need some bronze, but we can set up bronze easy enough. All that is 3 copper dust with 1 tin dust to make 4 bronze dust. We can do that, no problem. The downfall to this is, with it being the Mechanism jetpack, is it takes your chest slot, and that gives you 8 armor and 2 armor toughness, where we'd be losing some armor and some armor toughness and some knockback resistance, so it's not really feasible. And then comes our last option, and the option we're probably going to do is just the iron jetpacks. I didn't realize that the full iron jetpacks were in this mod pack. I thought the only one that was available was the Allthemodium. I think that might have been in the previous update before this most recent update came out. But since we have all of the different iron jetpacks in here, this might actually be our best option. And realistically, we don't even have to go too far up. We just need some basic flight right now to get us around, to make our lives a little easier when we're building things and when we're exploring and getting to different areas. The Gold Jetpack holds up to 10 million FE, which realistically we will not fill that up anytime soon. Our other option is to go with the Iron Jetpack right now, which holds 800,000, but I think we're just going to skip right to the Gold Jetpack and then just bring the throttle down a little bit to use a little less energy. And that's the big downfall to this jetpack, is this one uses power, where the Mechanism one uses hydrogen, which is a resource that we're not using at all right now. And then the infusion pylon with the potion filter doesn't use anything. It just requires some resources we don't have. So those are kind of our main 3 options, because everything else is just unachievable right now. So I think to start, we're going to go ahead and make the iron jetpack and maybe move on to the infusion pylon as soon as we get the resources to do so, just because it's going to make life so much easier. So to start out, we have to make the wood jetpack. So that's going to be some planks, some leather, some iron, some more planks, 2 furnaces, and some basic coils. I believe we need 11 basic coils total, so let's make this. So we got our 3 leather and our 2 iron nuggets. We'll make our leather strap. Then we're going to need to go ahead and make 11 of these basic coils. And then some energy cells. We need 5 of these total. 1 wood capacitor, 2 furnaces, 2 wood thrusters, and then our wood jetpack. But we're not staying with wood. We're going to move right on up. For these jetpacks too, as you move up, you're going to need 5 energy cells for each tier, 11 of the coils, and 2 furnaces. And then just 1 capacitor and 2 thrusters. So now we have our copper one, and let's go ahead and make the iron one. And then for this last upgrade, we're going to go with the gold one, and the only difference here is that instead of the basic coils, it's now the advanced coils, which use gold instead of iron. And there we go. We now have our gold jetpack, so let's go through that in our energy cube to start filling it up with power. And this thing is going to absolutely suck through all of our power, but it's fine. We get it back pretty quick, because this whole setup is using less power than what we are currently generating. Alright, so then we put our gold jetpack on, and I'm just putting it in our curio slot because we already have our back slot with our diamond backpack. So we're just going to rock that up here for now, because, well, it should work. But before we get into that, we're going to want to go into our keybinds and look up the iron jetpack. Just go under categories, iron jetpacks, and these are all the keybinds that are set to be able to use this. So you can decrease your throttle, you can increase your throttle, and then you can turn your engine on or off, and you can turn hover mode on or off, and you can also toggle the HUD that shows up on the side of your screen. And as you can see on the left hand side there, our engine is currently off. So let's see if these keybinds conflict with anything. So we're going to need to turn V off, because V opens up our character panel, but we already have that set for E, so we can get rid of that. And then H is our hover mode. And there we go. We now have engine on and our hover mode on. And you can see at 100% throttle, we are absolutely moving. And with hover mode on these, you don't actually stay hovering, you do slowly descend. You need to look out for that. But we'll go ahead and turn that off. And the other issue that you may run into is you will take fall damage with it. So you just want to be super careful. Your other option is you can make the mechanism free runners. Pretty simple to make, just like the mechanism jetpack. You can make a armored free runner that gives you a little bit of armor and some armor toughness plus 1 movement efficiency. If you're going to run these, I'd suggest doing the armored ones just to get that little extra out of it, but this will allow you to not take fall damage. So it's really good paired with either of these two jetpacks, either this one or the mechanism. But as you can see, our jetpack is on our back and, well, we can fly. And, you know, it's definitely not the best flight in the world. We're going to need to constantly fill it up with energy until we have wireless power and better power. But for now, this definitely gets the job done. And our life just became a lot easier. But now that we have flight, you can see there's some lanterns there on the side of the hill. Let's go check out what that's for. And as we come over here, there's a chest with a builder. And I may have used the builder to dig underneath here. I figured we needed a place for a mob farm. Thought something kind of Coliseum-esque would look good. I've created multiple floors. And kind of this sectioned off chamber here where we can set up a mob farm. It's not perfect, it's not huge, but it's enough for what we're going to need it for. I did leave the second layer here unbuilt because I wasn't sure what kind of farm I was going to use, whether I was going to use some mob conveyor belts or some fans or a mixture of both. But I figured this should work for now. And then we just have our elevators here so we can get up and down. And I figured a glass roof would kind of look good, so that way we could see what's going on down there. And you know, I was planning on doing the blaze spawners first, but I think we're going to set up some cursed soil to start so we can get some random assortment of materials before we start fully focusing on individual materials. So I think the first step is going to be making some GM chicken feed cursed, which means we need some buckets of experience because, well, we have everything else. And to get those buckets of experience, we are going to use the XP drained singularity tank, which is going to be 2 Eyes of Ender, Hopper, singularity tank, and some iron bars. And that singularity tank is just some glass with some iron. So we'll make our singularity tank, and then we just need to make some iron bars, a hopper, and then we just need 2 Eyes of Ender. Luckily, we have some blaze powder, so we just need to go buy some ender pearls. And we now have our XP drain singularity tank, and we'll go ahead and put that in here. Now let's go ahead and make 4 buckets. And let's stand on this to get our XP. Alright, we now have our 4 buckets of experience. All we're missing is some rotten flesh, which we have plenty of. Alright, here's our GM chicken feed. So now we just need to go find a chicken to feed it to. Hey buddy. And just like that, we now have our rotten egg. But before we can use that rotten egg, we need to set up a few things first. So some of the things that we're going to need to start, it's going to be some way to push those mobs around. And to do that, we are going to use some mob fans, because, well, they're kind of the easiest thing to use. All that requires is a block of redstone, 4 iron, and 4 stone slabs, and we need to make 3 of these. Then we're also going to need the way to extend the range of those fans. So we're going to need 3 feathers and 4 iron to do that, and we just need 1. And of course we don't have any feathers, so we're going to need to go liberate some feathers from the chickens. Then we're going to need a way to kill the mobs. And for that, we're going to use a mob masher, which is a block of redstone, a block of iron, 3 diamonds, 2 iron swords, and 2 iron spikes, which are 3 iron swords and 1 block of iron. So let's make it. And then there's a couple upgrades that we can also make, like our sharpness upgrades that we can put into the mob masher. That'll just increase the amount of damage it does, and we can have up to 10 of them. So we have all these resources, let's go ahead and make them. And the next option we have is our mob masher looting upgrade, which will just allow us to get more loot from each kill. And this one's super easy to make, just some blue dye, gold nuggets, and redstone. So we're going to make those as well. So the next thing we're going to need to make is called the Ender Inhibitor. That's going to require an Eye of Ender, 1 redstone, 1 glowstone, 2 iron. And this just makes it so when Endermen spawn, they cannot teleport away. So they'll stay in there and die from the mob masher. And then another core component that we're going to need is some tinted glass. And that's just going to be 4 glass with 4 charcoal or coal or cold gears. And I'm not quite sure how much we're going to need of this, so we're just going to make about a stack. If we need more, we'll go farm some sand and get some more glass and make it. So since we're not setting up regular spawners quite yet, we're going to make this mob farm up top here. And we're going to do it right in this little area. I'm going to clear this out, make it look pretty, and then we'll put the mob farm together. So now I have this all set up and ready to go. I've just built out this room, and the unfortunate side effect of when I built this is I made this even instead of odd. So this is a 4 block space instead of being a 5 block. So I had to make some small adjustments to how I normally set it up. Normally this would be centered and this spot here would be a 3x3, but we're going to be doing a 3x4 and hopefully it works. One of the other things I didn't account for is we are playing Allthemodium 10 Lite, which means there's a lot of mods in here that I'm used to that are missing. And one of those mods would be something like more red or redstone pens or things of that nature, or cog blocks, right? This mod pack doesn't have any of that. The only option that I have is a redstone clock and some redstone torches. So we're going to try and set this up the best we can to pulse our dreadful dirt, but we'll go through and see how we set that up. But anyway, I have a hole here and a hole here because this whole area right here is going to be filled with the tinted glass, and that is going to have a mob fan on it. So we'll put a mob fan right here, and we're going to put a mob fan right here, and then our last mob fan is going to be right here. And then in this mob fan we are going to put the width upgrade. And as you can see, we are actually going to need to make a second width upgrade, which means we need to go get some more feathers, so that way it can reach to this point here. But if we look at these working areas, these are going to push here, and this one is going to push here, which is just going to push everything that comes in here into the fan as soon as I extend this range. And then the last thing we need to put down is going to be the mob masher. We're going to put that right here, and then we're going to break this block out, because we're going to put a lever on the back of each one of these things. I set up a little pathway as well and dug behind and below here, because we need to be able to access that. So if we come over here, we can put a lever right here, and that's going to turn that fan on and off. We'll put another one right here, and another one on the last fan. And then if we come down here, this brings us below. And we can go ahead and put one right here to turn that on and off. For now, keep it off because that thing will hurt you. And then the last thing we're going to need is a redstone lamp. So we're going to need a glowstone block with some redstone. And I believe that's 4 corners, right? Yeah. We've got our redstone lamp. So let's come over here and we're going to go up. I dug a tunnel to this hole here. We put the redstone lamp there, put the lever on, and we can turn that on. And what that'll do is it'll just prevent these mobs from spawning at all. So now we can go ahead and put our dirt down. And then we can go ahead and convert this to our dreadful dirt with our rotten egg. So if we just hit this, that all changes to dreadful dirt. So if we turn this lamp off, all of these mobs will start spawning. Well, maybe not, because we do have lights here, but that's what the tinted glass is going to be for. Before we keep going, let's put our sharpness and our looting upgrades in here. And we do have a couple other upgrades we could use, but these are the two most important ones. I'm going to go get our feathers and make our other range, or our other width extender for our fan. And we'll throw that in. So that should be enough area. We don't need to worry about having a fan in these corners here, as they'll eventually move into this at some point and move, so we're fine without it. But now that that's all set up, let's go ahead and put our glass down. And we'll just leave this open for now, so that way we can still get in here just in case we need to change anything. Oh, and I missed it. There is a redstone receiver and redstone transmitter from RF Tools Utility that we could make and use to do this. So I may do that in between to set up our fans and our Mob Basher wirelessly, but for now having this tunnel to do all this is completely fine, but that will make it easier in the future. So now there's a couple different things that we need to worry about: collecting experience and collecting items. And to do that, we kind of only have 3 options for collecting items, and that is the item collectors mod with the basic item collector and the advanced, and we can absolutely make the advanced one, and it picks it up in a 7 block range. So I think that would be big enough to collect everything in here. Or our other option is a modular router with a vacuum module, and I haven't used that before, so I might actually try this out to see how it works. And if this doesn't work, we'll just use an advanced item collector. And I'm also going to make this XP vacuum augment because I think that'll work as well. Now, like I said, I've not used modular routers in this capacity pretty much ever. I've always just used it to move items around, to push it into different things. I've never actually used the vacuum augment, so we're gonna have to try and figure out how this works. It looks like we have a range up augment, which will increase the range at which these work. So we're gonna make about 8 of them so we can add them to the vacuum augments and see how this works out. Now let's take a look. This should just collect everything. That's set to all. But we want this set to, I guess, the back, and put this augment in here. And now let's see, if we throw that back here, it does pick it up. It's slow, but it picks it up. So then we need to send it to an inventory. So with that, we're going to need a sender module, and we'll probably need 2 of them. And then let's also take a look at this vacuum module with the XP in it. You can do bottles of enchanting, essence bucket, bucket of experience. So we're going to go ahead and try and do this as a liquid and set this up in a jumbo tank to see if this will work for our experience. And then we're also going to make an XP tap, so that way we can just shower ourselves with experience whenever we need it. So we should be able to put the XP tank there, put our tap here, and then with this vacuum module, we can go ahead and well, first, let's put some range upgrades in. So this has a max of 12, and we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with 1, 2, 3, 4. I do want to test this real quick. If I throw an item here, okay, that does get sucked up. So let's go ahead and just put 1 range in here, and then we'll put this in here. And then we'll also do the same for this one. Let's throw a range upgrade in this and put that right here. And we can also push C to open this up, and we'll tell this we want this sent to the back as well, and then auto eject. So hopefully that'll just go up. Because then we can turn this on and off to shower us with experience. And so we're going to go ahead and make our sender module here. And then we're going to throw in inventory on top of this. And we've got plenty of iron, so let's go ahead and make an iron barrel. Then we're just going to set this sender module to push up, and it's going to push any items that we collect into this barrel. And we can upgrade this to gold and then to diamond as well. We just need to go grab those materials, so we'll do that soon enough. So our last step here is setting up our ender inhibitor. And you want to make sure that is lit up and that is connecting to prevent endermen from spawning out of here. Let's cover this up. And then the last thing that we want to do before we turn this on is we want to try and redstone tick the dirt, because if you give it a redstone pulse, it will run a lot quicker. So I think the best way to do that is going to be with a redstone clock and maybe a couple. I don't know if we're going to be able to redstone tick all of this, but we can certainly try. Let's place some redstone clocks down here, and then we're just going to take some stone torches. But before we do that, we can shift right click to set the clock frequency, and we want to set that to 5. You have to go all the way up to 100, and then you want to control click, or sorry, you want to set that all the way to 100, and then you want to right click to get it to 5. So shift right click to 100 and right click to 5, shift right click to 100, right click to 5, and so on and so forth. And like I said, I don't know if this is going to work, but it's worth the shot, right? Then we just take a redstone torch and we place it here. And that is at least going to tick a couple of these blocks. And the ones in the middle aren't going to get ticked. A couple of them aren't going to get ticked, which is fine, right? This will at least give us some type of pulse to speed up the spawning. But now that we have that set up, let's go ahead and turn on all our fans. Let's go back down here and let's turn on our mob masher. And then we just need to come up here and turn off our redstone lamp. And they are already spawning. And now we're going to need to be careful because this thing is slow. We're going to need to give this some speed upgrades. And man, is it loud. So let's go turn our redstone lamp back on. And as you can see, there is a ton of loot in there because this thing is just trying to work, but it is very, very slow. So we need to make some speed upgrades. And speed upgrades, well, they're going to require some blaze rods. So that's going to be a little hard for us because we only have 2 blaze rods. Ooh, and unfortunately, we do not have any gunpowder either. But you know what I see in here? I see some gunpowder. So we're going to go ahead and break this open and grab some of that loot. So let's throw some speed upgrades in here. See if that does any better. Not really. Let's go ahead and throw another 6. I mean, it's moving, but it's rather slow. And as you can see, our jumbo tank is almost full already, but we can turn this on and just collect experience. So it's not too bad. And then we can always come over here and drop it all off to be able to use it. And we can always put another tap over there if we need it as well. So this works for now, and this works a lot better than this does. But yeah, getting this loot is going to be a little difficult. And that's where I think just doing a advanced item collector is going to be our best option. But unfortunately, we just used our last blaze rod. So we're going to need blaze rods, which means we're going to need to use that Apothic Spawner to at least get them started. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go in here and we're going to turn all of our fans and our mob masher off so we can walk inside. And I gotta say, those redstone clocks with the redstone torches working perfect. Exactly what we need. But now that that's all off, we're gonna go ahead and we're going to put this blaze spawner somewhere. And I'm trying to think, because the issue is I don't want them spawning in the upper areas that we have opened up, but I think that might happen regardless. So we're just going to go ahead and put this blaze spawner right here, and we can put a redstone comparator inside. So now it is redstone controlled, which means we can put a lever on it, or a lever on it, and turn it on. So let's see if the fans work on these. If we have to manually kill them, we will, but I think that will work. And this is just a completely temporary setup. But hey, look at that. We're getting some blaze rods. Yep, they fall down the second they start to move. And of course he's in the corner that isn't covered by the fan. There we go. And he's pushed right in. And hey, just like that, we have some blaze rods. So now we can go ahead and make our item collector because we now have ender pearls and blaze rods set up. And it doesn't reach the full side there, but it should pick those up a lot quicker than this modular router does. So then the last thing that we want to do is set up a upgrade for this iron barrel. We want to bring this up to a diamond iron barrel. And then we're going to throw some stack upgrades as well as a couple void upgrades in here. So let's go make those real quick. So we're upgrading that to a diamond. I'm going to throw some stack upgrades in there. Got 2 diamond stack upgrades. And then we're going to throw 2 void upgrades on as well. For the first void upgrade, we're going to set this to match tag. And we're going to do all armor in here. So for that, we can actually do, all armors. And then we can put the shovel in here. And let's set that to all tools. And then you also want to make sure you set this to works in GUI as well. So then anytime one of these items is put in here, let's make sure to turn that one on. Make sure anytime an item's put in there, it will automatically delete it. So we want to go ahead and put arrows in here as well. And then just anything else that we don't want. So iron spells, what we can do is set this up here. And we'll just set this to match mod. Put iron spells in there. And work in GUI. Now anything iron spells is just always going to get deleted. Because we just don't need any of that stuff. Maybe eventually we will, but for now it's not worth clogging up our inventory with. So over here we can also put cobblestone. So any cobblestone is going to be deleted. We'll still have our eyes. We'll still have rotten flesh, potatoes. This stuff's all fine. And we can have up to 16,000 of each. The only thing that's going to be lower is ender pearls because it's at 4,000. But I want to go ahead and turn this on and try again. So let's turn that light off. And we're even going to keep our blaze spawner there for now. Eventually we will move this blaze spawner. How's it doing? I don't know. It is much faster this way. And that's because of this item collector here. So, we can actually configure it. So we can see the range. Alright, that works. I mean, this whole area too, if we drop anything, is going to not be collected, or is going to be collected. But that should pick up every item in here. Now, the only other thing that we want to do, because I'm sure this is annoying already, is muffle everything. So let's go ahead up and set an anchor, and then just find everything. Alright, that is much better. Just had to go in and set an anchor and muffle everything, so we're still going to hear little things here and there, but at least our eardrums aren't exploding. But as you can see, just over this little bit of time, we have a ton. I mean, we have 140 blaze rods, and we haven't done anything to that spawner other than give it redstone control. We'll be able to boost that a ton. And when we do that, that's when we will start utilizing all this space down here. But until we get to that point, we're just going to keep it in here because we're just going to passively get some blaze rods. Only other thing we want to do is we want to make sure this is chunk loaded, because I only have this chunk loaded here. So we're just going to make sure these are force loaded and set up. So that way it is always running. Do be careful if you are playing on a server, because running something like this can cause server lag, especially if your loot gets super backed up. This will cause some issues, and even as a single player it will cause issues as well. But as you can see, our experience tank is completely full already, so we're gonna need to figure out a better option for experience moving forward, but this works for now. So before we end this episode, there's one last thing I'd like to do. We have flight now, which means we can explore this giant quarry that we've created and see what we can find below. I don't know if you could see it down there, but there's something just hanging out in the middle of the void there that we can go check out. And if you take a look here, that is Allthemodium. Like I said previously, when we set up this builder, the builder will not mine Allthemodium, but it doesn't void it. So now that we have flight, we can come down here and start mining all of this. which is awesome. And before we go mine out that Allthemodium, I'd like to make a magnet, because we need to be able to pick that up without it just falling down to the void. So we can set this into our curios here. I think we'd have to put it in our charm slot, which, what do I have? I have our obsidian skull there, so let's put it here. And magnet is H, just like hover. So we're going to need to change that. So I just set that to shift H to make it a little easier. We have hover turned on, we have our magnet turned on, and let's go ahead and mine up this Allthemodium. That Allthemodium that we just mined, that was 29 Allthemodium. So we're going to go ahead and throw that right in here and let that get processed down to triplet. So that's going to be it for today's episode. We got quite a lot done and had to figure some stuff out as well. There are a couple different things we could have done, like setting up a backpack with a magnet upgrade and a void filter in it instead of setting up all of that. And that would have worked fine for collecting all those items. I just wanted to try something I haven't done before, which was modular routers. And well, it doesn't work out, at least not yet. Same thing with our experience. Our experience tank is already full. So if we come over here and turn our magnet on, we are just going to be sucking all of that experience out. But now that we have more resources automated, I think it's time for us to figure out a storage solution, because I'm tired of running around to different chests in different locations to get all of the different resources I need, which means the only real storage solution that we can do is Applied Energistics 2, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's the best storage system, as well as tons of quality of life. I hope you learned something new today. I had a ton of fun trying to figure out how to do a basic mob farm without all the mods that I'm used to. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And don't forget to check out the Discord, where we're currently playing all the mods as a server. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Later.